From a power company that actually empowers customers to generate their own clean energy, to a global giant that's opening up new sources of clean energy for the planet. Discover a new underground storage technology that's helping keep our environment clean. Powerful new marine engine technology designed to keep our waters clean. And a new digital superhighway that may soon connect virtually everyone on Earth. It's all coming up.
Our next stop, Edmonton in Alberta, Canada, where I'm stopping to refuel on this environmental journey. Now, everyone expects high-grade fuel to keep our engines running clean, but did you know down below, underground, and I mean deep underground, is new technology to keep our environment running clean as well? Let's take a look.
You don't see them hidden beneath gas stations and convenience stores, but across North America, over 500,000 underground storage tanks store petroleum or hazardous substances. The greatest potential threat from this is a leak that could ultimately seep into the soil and contaminate groundwater, the source of drinking water for nearly half of all Americans.
We're concerned about the product leaking out into the environment, which would contaminate soils, contaminate our waters.
The real reason for storage of underground is the extreme fire and explosion hazard that these motor vehicle fuels pose to both property and people. What that created, however, is an environmental problem with underground storage tanks leaking into the environment due to both internal and external corrosion.
Historically, most underground storage tanks were made of bare steel, which were likely to corrode over time, allowing hazardous contents to leak into the environment. But that all changed with the introduction of fiber-reinforced plastic in the construction of these underground tanks for storing petroleum.
Since fiberglass reinforced plastic underground storage tanks were introduced into the market in the 1970s and 1980s, this problem essentially has been solved through these environmentally sensitive storage products now being the dominant choice by over 29 of 30 major fuel retailers in North America.
And nowhere are you going to find more underground fiberglass tanks above ground than right here at one of 6 manufacturing facilities of ZCL Composites in Edmonton. In fact, in the last 30 years since the company started, over 200,000 of these environmentally friendly tanks have been installed and shipped across North America.
As you can see here, we've got tanks that range from 6,000 gallons all the way up to 8,000 gallons, and we make tanks as big as 129,000 gallons.
And these tanks are built to fit what's needed, whether it's a 4,000 gallon tank, or how about a 125,000 gallon tank that towers 50 feet above me, the size of a 5-story building.
Over the last 40 years, the market has transformed from essentially a steel underground storage tank market to fiberglass. ZCL is the largest fiberglass tank supplier in North America with 6 manufacturing locations. If you drive in and fill up your car with retail motor vehicle fuels today, you have a very high probability that one of ZCL's products is underground in service storing the motor vehicle fuel.
It all starts here at the ZCL manufacturing facility in Edmonton, one of 6 production facilities in North America, where leak prevention technology is the result of state-of-the-art testing and research.
We do quite a bit of testing at the factory here, John, just to ensure that our tanks adhere to our quality standards. Behind me, as you can see, is the brining station that we fill our tanks with to make sure that there's no leaks, either leaving the factory or in the field. We use vacuum pressure testing to make sure that when it gets installed, it can withhold any mechanical pressures or external forces on the tank. And we use static pressure testing to make sure that the tank will meet the pressure requirements out in the field.
The end result? A lightweight, superior fiberglass tank that simply will not corrode, with a lower carbon footprint than tanks made from both steel and concrete. In addition to the fuel market, This same tank storage technology is also being introduced to protect and preserve our precious water resources.
We're trying to provide owners and operators of both fuel storage systems and water recycling and reuse systems the peace of mind that they can be assured that the underground environment is being protected from environmental contamination and that our products are being effectively used for the recycling and reuse of these scarce water resources.
By having the double-walled tanks, we can monitor it so that we can make sure that it's not leaking into the ground and water's not leaking into the product, which is a safety for the customer as well.
In our water business, our theme is the water is the next scarce resource, and that to preserve and protect fresh water resources, it's imperative that we adopt recycling and reuse systems, all of which involve large capacity storage systems, and thus our tanks as part of that system.
It's all about protecting the environment from potential groundwater contamination and conserving our scarce fresh water resources.
So, whatever fuel we don't use up here remains safely stored down there. Our next stop, Houston, Texas. This is our nation's energy capital, where industry leaders are building and shaping our Earth's future. But right now here in Houston, it's all about rebuilding homes. We've all seen the devastation from the flooding of Hurricane Harvey, and right now companies are stepping forward to rebuild lives. Let's take a look.
Economically, it was this country's most destructive natural disaster to date. Hurricane Harvey not only destroyed lives, it destroyed communities.
We had the same rain in a year in 4 days, over 50 inches of rain. And in KBR itself, we had over 300 families that were disaffected, and many of them flooded out completely. Many have lost their homes, lost their worldly possessions, things that are really important to them.
Today, companies like KBR are stepping in to not only help their employees rebuild their lives, but also the entire community.
Our family at KBR, we've started a relief fund. KBR itself contributed $500,000 to that immediately. But what has really been uplifting is the response from the wider KBR family, who have really stepped up and contributed personal funds to that fund, and that's starting to have a positive impact on the families directly.
But then KBR already has a proven track record in caring and innovation and rebuilding and completing projects in a sustainable way for companies like Chevron, especially in the clean energy field.
Our vision for clean energy is LNG and natural gas in pipeline form, shipped all over the world, put into combustion engines, conventional vehicles. They'll burn well, they'll burn cleanly.
Sustainability is absolutely central to what we do. We believe that really for a long-term sustainable future to really the US, but also to the planet going forward, there has to be alternatives to current fuel choices, and we believe that fuel choice is gas going forward. And KBR has positioned it and been a pioneer in the LNG industry and the gas industry.
As the world seeks alternatives, gas is a natural choice for abundant, clean energy, and KBR is at the forefront of this industry. But providing this clean energy is complex. It means developing LNG facilities in some of the world's most demanding and environmentally sensitive locations.
Well, the interesting thing is that natural gas is one of the most abundant molecules on Earth. But ironically, it seems to be in difficult places. It's in deserts, it's under the sea, it's in jungles, it's in the Arctic. And then occasionally we find it in places like West Texas.
And the latest endeavor to provide us clean energy, the Gorgon Project, a world-scale LNG project on Barrow Island, about 37 miles off the coast of Australia, and one of the most environmentally challenging locations ever encountered.
Gorgon is a very unique project. It's one of the largest LNG projects ever built in the world. It's in a Class A environmental reserve, which has been there in that position for early 1900s. It's got some unique features in terms of wildlife that actually exists there, which doesn't exist anywhere in the world.
As a Chevron-operated LNG site, KBR and its partners had to take heroic measures to protect this island's environment while building the Gorgon Project. It is now one of the largest natural gas projects in the world and the largest single resource development in the history of Australia.
We had to take special measures in terms of planning the execution as well as doing the construction of the plant as well. To get there, you have to fly in to get across to that site. It was chosen because it was the nearest land point from the upstream facilities where the offshore assets were going to be based there. It's going to be one of the largest LNG projects in the world.
We're going to become one of the largest exporters of LNG in the world.
It'll provide 15 million tons of LNG that will be exported across the world.
Protecting the environment and our wildlife while still bringing clean gas to an ever energy hungry world. That's a recipe for sustainable success in rebuilding our world, as well as rebuilding our communities. Our next stop, California, where super highways abound for both cars and high-speed internet. But far above us, another super highway is about to take on traffic. A digital superhighway that may someday connect virtually everyone on Earth. Let's take a look.
Today, our world is heavily connected, thanks to the use of undersea cables, ground-based fiber, and of course, satellites. But this technology doesn't connect everyone. There's still a huge void that needs to be filled.
If you look at the world today, there's only 2 levels of communications. We at Airborne Wireless believe there's a great untapped potential by utilizing that middle space to create a whole new layer of global connectivity.
Now, the solution to filling this void in Earth's connectivity lies in finding the right technology that offers low cost and high-speed connectivity uninterrupted virtually anywhere on Earth, including remote places like this.
Researchers here at the R&D facilities in Simi Valley, California, think they may have found the answer.
We're creating a flying mesh network digital superhighway.
What that means is that we have ground stations, or even they could be mounted onto a ship or an oil derrick or a locomotive. And that serves the signal up to the aircraft. There's a receiving antenna as well as a transmitting antenna.
As we expand the system, there's quite a bit of uses for such a network. And whether that's filling the connectivity void for rural area coverage, whether it's providing services to oil platforms, cruise ships, or even disaster relief emergency services.
And their solution? A high-speed wireless broadband airborne network that actually links in a mesh net of commercial aircraft while they're airborne with the surface level stations, creating a digital superhighway in the sky.
What we're doing is creating almost like a mesh net across the skies by using aircraft that allows for you to communicate on the X, Y, and Z levels. So you're going forward, backward, left, right, up and down. So if you run into a bad spot of weather where you can't communicate, we do an end around. We push the signal around through connected aircraft, and you still have communications.
In Roswell, New Mexico at the end of May of 2017, we flew 2 767s in a circular pattern with a ground earth station or a mast antenna. We're doing Skype, we're doing data transfer, and it worked.
What it's going to lead to is now adapting that into a commercial product that we can install on multiple aircraft.
Airborne Wireless Network says the success of their new network in the sky will rely on direct connection between antennas on the ground and planes in the air, as well as between the planes themselves, to create an ever-moving and self-healing communication link accessible to everyone. In other words, a virtual airborne World Wide Web.
We call it the Infinitus Superhighway, Infinitus being unlimited. And we call it the Superhighway because there's no single point of failure.
There's a great untapped potential by utilizing that middle space to create a whole new layer of global connectivity. And we plan on doing that by our patent. Our patent allows us to connect aircraft in the sky to form a wireless mesh network.
Even the traditional wireless technology of satellites orbiting our Earth can be disabled or knocked out of orbit by space junk, whereas this new airborne network operates in a safe and controlled environment.
Space junk in the sky. Every year it's becoming a larger and larger problem. And it's going to get to a point where there's so much junk in the sky that it's dangerous for the manned vehicles especially that have to be up there.
And in fact, in today's Wall Street Journal, there was an article related to how our system can help mitigate that and provide service that isn't subject to that kind of danger.
An airborne digital highway may very well be a logical solution to fill this world's connectivity void.
So if you're tired how crowded our Earth superhighways have become, you can take comfort in knowing there's a superhighway up above with a lot more room for cruising. You know, nobody enjoys more what our Earth has to offer than those who live and breathe adventure here in the Florida Keys. Of course, we all want power and precision on the water, but we also want a clean way to do it. Well, we've got some clean engine technology to help us do just that. Let's take a look.
For nearly 50 years, Lee Murray and his family have been running a full-service marina in Key West, Florida, selling, chartering, storing, and repairing boats and engines for the locals and tourists to enjoy the pristine waters of the Florida Keys. Sure, it's a business, but mostly it's a chosen lifestyle to embrace his own love for the water.
I would bet anybody in the world that I've had the greatest life in the world growing up here in the Keys and being able to boat since I was 6 or 7 years old. There's a lot of birds and fish and, you know, turtles and stingrays and all the stuff back here, all the natural habitat that, you know, that's what makes it part of the beautiful, you know, of the Florida Keys that we have. There's, I mean, the dolphin and stuff that come up in here and could come right up next to the boat. It's, you know, it's really, you know, a beautiful place, that's for sure.
But Lee Murray is the first to admit he has great concern for his water environment and keeping it clean, especially with ever-increasing boat traffic, even here in the laid-back Keys. It means a constant search for improvement in the boat engines he sells, engines that will offer more power but cleaner with less emissions to keep this boating environment clean for today and generations to come.
We're just trying to do as best we can to keep it as clean as it is. And for my kids, I mean, I hope that they understand why I talk to them about it and why, you know, that they need to help preserve it, because 50 more years from now, I want it to be as beautiful as it is today.
And Lee is not alone in his concern for cleaner ways to enjoy the water world around him. Captain C.A. Richardson is also an outdoor enthusiast and environmentalist. He's a fishing guide and host for an award-winning national fishing show called Flats Class TV, where he teaches the how-tos of fishing for beginning anglers and shares the secrets of catching those sought-after game fish, from peacock bass to bonefish. But he also educates viewers on the newest technology and boat designs for greener boating.
It's a technical how-to show, and we're fishing areas that are environmentally sensitive. So engine technology and innovation that makes that experience that much better without leaving a negative footprint on the environment, it is paramount.
The same can be said for boat builder Captain Chris Peterson of Hell's Bay Boatworks in Florida, a team of dedicated fishermen, outdoorsmen, and adventurers. His visionary dream has always been to build the finest fishing boat ever conceived, a boat that would revolutionize the shallow water fishing industry.
My passion is fishing in clean places. Where our boats go is some of the absolutely most pristine waters on the saltwater coast, but they're also very fragile. So it's our duty really to build something that has a very small footprint and leaves virtually no trace of having been there.
This constant search for innovation in boating technology has been the lifeblood of Evinrude engines. It's been a name synonymous with our world passion for boating for over 100 years.
In fact, Evinrude invented the outboard engine and has spent over a century creating, crafting, rethinking, and reimagining the outboard engine to better fit a boater's needs.
And you're constantly looking for new ways so that people can enjoy the water and enjoy it in a responsible way, whether that's using less fuel, making less emissions, making the boat easier to drive, easier to take care of. All those things bring the love of the water into the heart of our business.
And what makes this all possible? E-Tech direct injection technology, where only the exact amount of fuel needed is injected directly into the cylinder for the greatest power and lowest emissions on the high seas. This includes the unprecedented engine technology of the E-Tech G2 outboard motor, which engineers chose to design by starting with a clean sheet of paper.
Well, we had pretty big goals to start out with. We wanted to be better than 15% improvement. And in the world of engines, that's hard to do. Car companies chase 2 and 3%. So 15% was a lofty goal, and we knew that to do that, we were going to have to start over. The key to that starting over was developing an engine around direct injection, not putting direct injection on an existing engine. That's why the clean sheet of paper.
And for these fishermen and boaters who make their living from the sea, this innovation in clean engine technology is key to cleaner waters.
It was the most environmentally friendly motor that you could hang on the back of your boat. And to me, that was an important message to send to my audience.
With this new technology and newer boats and cleaner places, I think we can actually leave a better place for our kids than what we have today.
Innovation and clean technology. It's not only giving us the power to get out and enjoy Earth's watery wonders, it's keeping our boating environment clean for today and generations to come. Our next stop, Ontario, Canada, where clean energy initiatives and innovation have risen to a whole new level. Imagine a power company that's so committed to a more sustainable future, it actually wants to empower you to generate and manage your own energy. Sounds hard to believe? It's true. Let's take a look.
We all want to be part of the climate change solution, but with utilities, that means entire jurisdictions being involved to support global initiatives and a decarbonization of the environment. The province of Ontario has introduced a number of green energy measures to combat the growing effects of climate change over the last decade.
Over a decade ago, Ontario took the decision to shift to clean energy resources. Today, the province is seeing an even more revolutionary transition from large utility-scale generation located miles from cities and towns to rooftop solar and battery storage in homeowners' basements.
The elimination of coal-based energy in Ontario stands as the single largest greenhouse gas emissions reduction mandate on the continent. This commitment to innovation and sustainable energy remains just as powerful today through one of Ontario's largest utility companies, Hydro One, a company with over 110 years of history in powering Ontario.
Canada's history with hydroelectricity really began with Sir Adam Beck in Niagara Falls. Hydro One has been a catalyst in the sustainability of electricity for the residents of Ontarians for over 100 years now. And as we see our vision going forward, it really is to continue to provide on-demand electricity and to do it in the most efficient manner possible, and particularly proud of the renewable history of the province.
Now that includes one of the most significant climate change initiatives ever undertaken by an industrialized country, transitioning to 100% clean energy.
It requires massive change in how you design the grid, where customers are in sync and connected with their energy systems.
The electricity industry has been a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, and it's incumbent upon all of us in this industry to take steps to reduce emissions. That's why Hydro One's conservation programs and many other programs that we have for our customers are very important, because the cleanest megawatt of energy is the one that doesn't have to be produced.
Hydro One regularly flexes its innovation muscle as part of their storm response. Its Grid Control Center is a state-of-the-art facility that monitors and controls the flow of electricity across Ontario's transmission grid. With a world-class computer system acting as the nerve center, Hydro One operates power equipment, responds to alarms, and restores interrupted power in real time. So Mayo, what's all happening here in the Grid Center?
Well, this is a center of activity for the province for electricity. Hydro One's Grid Control Center. There's billions of data points that are coming in every second that are getting managed by the many people here on the floor that you see. And as we think about the ebbs and flows of electricity, whether it be effects of floods, ice storms, windstorms, we can monitor and adjust our system accordingly. And we have backup systems, and we can dispatch crews for storm recovery to get people on site involved in recovering our citizens on a second-by-second basis.
As part of a province-wide program, Hydro One also turned to an advanced metering infrastructure, installing 1.3 million smart meters and introducing peak and off-peak pricing. This advanced metering technology will help empower the average customer to generate their own power, choose their own source of electricity, and manage their own consumption of energy.
So we have 1.3 million customers with smart meters, and this is very exciting for customers going forward as they can install renewable generation and export it back to the grid.
Your customers know exactly how much energy they're using. They know exactly how much energy they're putting back on the grid.
So Hydro One is giving customers the tools and real-time information to actually be in control of their energy system so they can make informed choices. It's actually a two-way flow of power, and you can see it all happen here in the Ontario Grid Control Center.
It requires the underlying infrastructure and the platform to be able to do that. So what you see behind me will be very important into the future, where we have more and more visibility, where we can see each and every single customer connecting their solar panels, their renewable generation on site, and giving us the ability to aggregate that and make that available to the broader audience on the grid.
Hydro One's conservation programs have saved our customers $45 million a year. In other words, that's a power plant that no longer has to be built.
What's amazing about this is the customer would not even have seen a change in the system while we're going through this transition.
It may be the future of sustainable energy, thanks to a utility company of the future helping to make a brighter future for us all. I'm John Holden. Thanks for watching.